Chapter 6, page 25. Shot heard round the world. With the Intolerable Acts, British leaders tried to punish Massachusetts and force it to pay for the damage done during the Boston Tea Party. However, this backfired. Instead, the Intolerable Acts turned other Americans against the British. Within about a year, people from many of the colonies, New England in particular, were preparing for war. In case fighting broke out, the people of Massachusetts organized and began to store guns at an arsenal in the town of Concord. They also increased the size of their militia and the training of each soldier in the militia. These soldiers were known as Minutemen, since it was said that they could be ready to fight at a moment's notice. British General Thomas Gage heard about this. Gage sent an army from Boston to Concord to capture the guns he heard were stored there and to arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock, leaders of the rebellion. However, while Gage's army was marching to Concord, colonial messengers rode ahead and warned other colonists that the British army was coming. Thanks to a famous poem about his midnight ride, Paul Revere is best remembered for these messengers. The next morning, April 19th, 1775, fighting broke out between the British troops and colonial militia. The first short battle took place at Lexington, and the second that afternoon at Concord. About 50 colonists and 70 British soldiers were killed. As the 1,700 British troops marched back towards Boston, they were fired upon by people hiding behind trees and stone walls. By the time they got back to Boston, about 300 British soldiers had been either killed or wounded. A poem written many years later by Ralph Waldo Emerson called these first shots at Lexington the shots heard round the world because they started the American Revolution. A larger battle took place about 2 months later. On June 16th, 1785, about 1,600 armed soldiers of the Massachusetts militia were entrenched on a hill in Boston. British General Thomas Gage sent about 2,200 redcoats to force them off the hill. As the British soldiers marched upon them, the colonial general named Israel Putnam told his men not to fire until they saw the whites of their eyes, meaning until they were very close. The first time the British soldiers attacked, they had to turn back because they were fired upon. The second time they attacked, they had to turn back again. By the third British assault, many of the colonials were running out of gunpowder, so they retreated. The British won what was later called the Battle of Bunker Hill, even though most of the battle was fought on a nearby hill called Breed's Hill. But about 1,000 British soldiers had been killed or wounded. Another such victory would have ruined us, one of the British generals said later. By the way, Putnam County, Tennessee, was named for Israel Putnam. After the Battle of Bunker Hill, there was no doubt this was now a war, the American Revolutionary War.